do-overs, okay? Yeah, okay, now I sound live, okay? Not that I wasn't living before, okay? But now I'm live, okay? Hello out there, okay? It's good. I'm going to be talking about, in this message today, responding to calls that life makes to us. You know, the yoo-hoo out there. I enjoy a book written by Greg Levoy, and it's called Callings, Finding and Following an Authentic Life. And I've mentioned this book before in talks, because I think that Greg has something very important to say about these calls. As he begins his book, he gives us all an option. He says, well, you know, we can just see our lives as a bunch of stuff that happens. Okay, and if you choose that's just fine, but there's a better way of thinking of our lives, a more meaningful way of thinking of our lives. And he says that is to realize or to see our lives as a process of call and response. So everything we become aware of in that sense can be a call to us. And we can find ourselves asking, what does this have to teach me? What does it mean for me? Maybe it's not for me, but maybe it's for another. But understanding or thinking of life as a series of calls and responses, this means that we're called upon to be attentive to our life. We need to, as the expression is, for our own life, and show up for the lives of others. Be present, choose to be aware, be living consciously. Levoy explains that in life there's this thing that we call calls. And it prompts us to ask questions like, who am I? What's my purpose here? What am I supposed to be doing with my life here? How can I make a difference? He says it doesn't really matter whether we name these calls as God speaking to us, the voice of God, or whether it's divine mind, or the force of completion, or patterning, or the center court, or as Khalil Gibran expressed it, life's longing for itself. Callings are life promptings for us to come out of our comfort zone, to stretch ourselves a bit more, to learn, to grow, and to serve life in some way. Callings come in different shapes and sizes. They may be earth-shattering calls, okay? And they may also be gentle, quiet calls for assistance or change. When responded to with a yes, they can be mighty works which transform the world in some way. There have been individuals who received mighty calls and responded with a yes. We can think of our master teacher Jesus and other great leaders in the world whose works, writings, and teachings and actions in the world have positively influenced people in the world over. However, Greg writes, most people do not receive big calls like Moses at the burning bush. Our calls in life, he says, are daily prompts to pay attention to our intuition, to be authentic, to live by our own codes of honor, to express what we ourselves feel and believe to be what is true, what is honorable, and what is compassionate in life. We may be part of social callings where groups of people choose to respond together to what life may be calling them to be and do. Or we may respond to personal, individual callings, which can be our expressing kindness to our neighbor who lives down the street, or to the stranger who is living on the street. And in this way, we change an individual world with our offerings of kindness and compassion. We have all had personal callings, and I have had callings which, when I responded yes to them, it caused me to have to move to the middle of the country. It caused me to think differently, to explore ideas and concepts that were foreign to me. I have callings when I write music or I take photographs. Something in that sound that I'm playing, and the touch of the keys, or something in that flower that I am photographing, has a message for me. It is a prompting, an invitation for me to extend myself outward in life. We have all had callings, some large and some small. You may have been called to say yes to that marriage proposal. Many of you have had a call to become a parent, to help bring in new souls and to help raise them and prepare them for this spiritual living in humanity. Some of you have been called as teachers, as artists, as lawyers. We have all been called. Parents, you are called in many, many ways, okay? I don't have children, but people who are pet parents are also called. I was called to give a home to Nicholas and his younger brother. What's his name? Jordan and his younger brother Nicholas, okay? And in this, they've taught me a lot of things, okay? I didn't grow up with cats. My mother did not allow cats in the house. We had dogs. We had collie shepherds, okay? We had mutts, they called them, okay? And we always had dogs around, okay? Gidget was a favorite, collie shepherd, and she looked like the Gidget that was famous on television, okay? But my sisters and I would always find kittens underneath the front porch. There was a grate there, and there was space. And mother cats found that it was safe to have their kittens there. So we would always find kittens, and we would want to keep them, and my mother would always say, no. Okay. So I was not used to living with cats and the blessings that I could receive from them until I was called to help a friend of mine in ministerial school. She had her apartment in Lee's Summit, Missouri, and she was going on a trip, about a 4-day trip, and she was concerned about Agatha, her cat, and asked me if I would stay at her apartment and be a parent to Agatha. Well, I didn't know how this would turn out. I was almost a little afraid because, if you don't know an animal, okay, I didn't know how Agatha would treat me or respond to me, okay. But that first night was the worst, okay, because I was sleeping in the spare bedroom, okay, and I felt something come up on the bed, okay, and it frightened me. I forgot where I was. I forgot that there was a cat in the house, and that was Agatha. And she wasn't there to bite me or to hurt me. She was there to share love. Okay. And as the week progressed, we began to become friends. She'd sit on my lap when I got home from ministerial school and went to the Jones apartment and was watching television there. Agatha would jump in my lap and we'd be buddies, okay? And this was going really great until early one morning. Now my instruction was to let her out in the morning and she'd come back very soon. So I had begun doing this. Agatha was very prompt in coming back so that I could then take off and go to ministerial school. But one morning, Agatha was delayed. I was getting a bit nervous. I didn't know whether something had happened to Agatha, how streetwise was she. But Agatha finally came home, and when I opened the door, she ran in, but she wasn't alone. Now, realize that I don't know cats, okay? And I'd never lived with a cat. And Agatha brought something in. And when I saw what it was, I made a shriek. Agatha dropped the mouse. The mouse ran. Agatha ran. And I'm thinking, what do I do? No, I got to leave. When Joan gets home, I don't know what to tell her. What's happening, okay? Do I try to catch this thing? I don't know anything about this, okay? And it got quiet. And I thought, I don't know. Maybe the mouse has found a place to hide from Agatha, but whatever, this is my cue to go. This is my calling to leave and go to school. Okay, and whatever happened with those two happened with those two. I would take care of it when I got home. And when Joan got home, I'd tell her about this. Okay, And you know, I never saw that, the rest of the week I never saw that mouse. Agatha never skirted around like there was a mouse in the house. And I thought, well, could it have escaped somehow and gotten back out? I didn't know. But when Joan got back, I had a little visit with her about me keeping Agatha. And I shared with her, she did the darndest thing. She came in and she brought a mouse into your house. She said, oh, she loves you. I'm thinking, oh, that's what that is, okay? So callings expose us to new ways to experience love. If I had not had this opportunity to babysit Agatha, I wouldn't have known that cats bringing in a mouse means they love you. Okay? It was new to me to realize that she brought it in for me. Okay? I thought she brought it in for her. That has prepped me all these years later to be able to deal with Nicholas, who is a hunter and a fence jumper over. Okay? If you come to my home, you'll see the netting and the wiring all my house. It looks like, you know, what is that prison called? It looks like a prison yard, okay, with extra wiring on top of the 6-foot wooden fence, like this, okay? So it extends that extra foot up so that he has no place to land when he jumps up on the fence. See, it's a double fence around my house, okay? And he was in the habit of jumping up there on the landing and then jump over into the next yard and then run around the neighborhood over there, okay? And I got tired of looking for him and calling around for him, okay? So I decided to go to the lumber store in Salina, and I told the guy what I wanted to do. I saw these things that you can make with wiring, okay, and with brackets. You attach the brackets to the wooden fence and stretch this wiring all around, okay? That way, when the cat gets near the fence and jumps straight up to get on there, he hits the wiring instead of... So the guy said, ma'am, why don't you just let him roam free? He was born free, okay? Said, yes, but his calling right now is to live with me, okay? And I don't have any free roaming cats, okay? It's a big world out there, and I care about him. I've grown to love him. I don't want anything to happen to him. And he said, well, okay, we got brackets over here, okay? And so he helped me pick out a couple of things he thought might work and gave me the wood nails and all this stuff here, and I built this San Quentin environment. And it was pretty good for a while. And then I noticed Nicholas was called. He felt challenged by this fencing, and because he was called to it, he was called to find the ways that he could overcome it. He saw it as something limiting his life. And that's what we do when we feel that life is causing us to feel limited. We realize there's something that we want to overcome. There's something there that we want to move through. There's something that we want to get over. And I watched, we have an enclosed backyard, okay, and they have a little cat door panel in between my glass sliding door, okay, with a little flap that opens up and they go in and out, except when I need to close that up. But when I'd let them out, Nicholas would no longer run and jump and play and harass his older brother in the yard. He would roam the periphery of the backyard, the fence line, looking up. And I could just see those wheels turning in his mind. This was something that was calling him. He was being called to find a way past this limitation. And he found spots that I left exposed, and he jumped through them, jumped over, okay? And I'd go back around the corner, around, out and around, and they say, oh, did Nicholas get out again? Okay. And it rang in my mind, just let him be. But no, I was stubborn because I felt called to protect him. I'd get more wiring, okay, and patch up that little space. He'd walk around and find another spot, okay. Finally, one day I came home from wherever I was. The back gate was wide open. Both cats were gone. I thought, now, what the heck happened? Did I not close that gate? I'm sure I closed that gate, okay? And then Nicholas came home. the older one came home. Jordan came home, and I asked him, "Where is your brother?" You know, he didn't answer me. He just kind of looked up like, okay. I said, "Where's your brother again?" Okay. And soon Nicholas came trotting on home from I don't know where, but they were both home, so I closed the gate. I decided I need to figure this out, okay? I had wiring, fencing up over the gate too, but I left something undone. And so I watched the next time that they were outside, and Nicholas went to the front gate. He jumped up on it. The lever that opened up the gate sticks out. He jumped on that. It opened the gate, and they were free. Born free. Telling you, okay? And then I realized there wasn't a whole lot more I could do. I got fencing, I got wiring, whatever, and put it around the handle that stuck out, okay, to keep him from jumping on the handle and opening the door. But what he began to do was jump on the fencing that I covered that handle with. Okay. Now everybody else going in and out the gate had to reach in that fencing to get that lever to push it down to open up the gate. Okay. But he began, so he wasn't able to jump on the lever to open the door, the gate. He jumped on the fencing that I'd put around the lever, and he'd jump over anyway. At that point, I realized my calling was to let him be free and to put him in God's care and keeping, and know that he was going to come back, if he was going to come back, or perhaps there was another adventure awaiting him. Okay. It's a perfect match, a perfect calling for them. But you know, we have all kinds of callings. I came home last Tuesday. It was evening because I'd been running around doing some chores, and a neighbor 2 doors down was out trimming and mowing her lawn. I'll call her Karen. And I knew that Karen's father had just passed away, and I pulled my car in the drive, but I got out to go visit with her. And I said, after she shared with me how the family was working together to support their mom and each other in this, I offered to mow her lawn for her because it had gotten very high while she'd been away. And she said, "No, I don't want you to do it." And I said, "Why don't you want me to do it?" I said, "You know, I'd like to help some kind of way." And she said, "I don't want you to do it. It's too tall, it's too hot, it's too this, it's too that." And whatever, she was insistent that I not help by mowing her lawns. And she finally said, "Well, I'm kind of embarrassed at how it looks, okay? I've been away and it's really overrun with the weeds and whatever." I said, "Karen, come with me. Let's go down to my backyard and you take a look at it, okay?" And thankfully, I had mowed, but there were all kinds of weeds and other things that I needed to cut down and clear out, okay? And so after I said, "Okay, let's go back." So we walked. I said, "Now will you let me mow your lawn?" And she said, "Yep." So I did mow her lawn. This was a call. God brought me home at that right time, okay, because I could see that she was worn out. She was tired, and she was coughing while we visited. She was sick, and I knew that she had to get up and go to work the next day. Me, I'm retired, okay, and so I could do that no problem, okay. So I waited until she went off to work, okay, so there was no more resistance, and I mowed her lawn, and I was hot, and I was tired, okay, and I was hungry, okay, but I felt good about helping a neighbor. I felt good about responding and not accepting her no. That calling in me said, "Don't accept that no. She needs your help. Offer it again. Find a way to offer it in a way that she will accept what she needs." And I realize how difficult it is for us to allow other people to help us, even when they are called to us. God brought them into our life experience to help us. We often resist, okay? And it's that old thing that no one has the opportunity to be blessed in receiving things, in giving things, if we don't allow there to be receiving. And the gives and the receiving things, those are calls also in life. Perhaps you smiled at a stranger in line in the grocery store, or you asked a harried cashier how her day was going, his or her day was going. Maybe you inquired about the strange spelling of their name on their employee badge. But you did something to acknowledge them. You did something to say, I see you, I recognize you, I value you. You are important. And so that's a small call, an urge to respond in a way that connects us with some other person and brings some light, some love, and compassion into our relationships.